Painted Shrines, Heaven and Holy album review. Let's chat about it. Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning. Here tonight to chat about this Painted Shrines debut album. If you don't know these guys, they are the newly formed duo of Glenn Donaldson of Sky Green Leopards fame, as well as Jeremy Earl of Woods. Now, if you've been following this channel over the last few years, you would know by now that the music of Jeremy Earl and Woods means a whole lot to me. Now, Sky Green Leopards, on the other hand, they've been around for a few years. They've dropped some albums, and they've been hit and miss with me. Life and Love in Sparrow's Meadow reminded me a lot of what I enjoyed about Woods. It had the haunting melodies, and it had the breezy instrumentals, but I wasn't that keen on the songwriting. However, the last few albums in their discography have kind of grown on me. Disciples of California, Gorgeous Johnny, as well as their last album, Family Crimes, have all been very likable. Now, knowing that, I thought that it would be really interesting to dive into this Painted Shrines album, which, hearing the singles, they were kind of what I expected to hear, but I wasn't expecting to be wowed by this album, but I think it's a pretty decent folk rock record. This album starts off with Saturates the Eye, and it's a very sunny, warm folk jam that starts this album off on the right foot. I mean, you still do get the weirder side of Jeremy Earl's songwriting here, but if you're familiar with either one of these gentlemen and their projects in the past, you know what to expect. It's very ghoulish but sort of inviting at the same time. And this track, by the end of it, actually gets some of the more passionate performances I've heard out of Glenn or Jeremy in a while. There's also tons of callbacks to the styles of Sky Green Leopards and Woods, and I love this as an intro. And Panoramic is just a really pleasant surprise. This album has about 4 or 5 very short, concise, very jammy instrumental interludes that brings me back to like the Songs of Shame days of Woods. And it's something that Woods kind of lost sight of over the years, but it's so refreshing to hear it now. It's rustic and it's sunny and it makes me yearn for the fall, even though we're not even out of winter yet. For 1 minute and 50 seconds, this is very cozy. And I think Gone is the best track here. It's certainly by the books. Once again, it's very haunting. It's very chilly. But it's really memorable and easily the catchiest track here. But it's really also interesting lyrically here, too. There's something old school about this. It brings me back to, like, old school singer-songwriter days that I just love. It's also probably one of the more human statements in either one of these guys' catalog, and for that alone, this is worth a listen. The track Painted Shrines is a little bit more upbeat. I'm actually surprised with how carefree this album is. It's very sunny as well. And that's not a bad thing. It's just not really where I'm used to hearing either one of these guys. But it's super passionate, and just honestly, this would be a really great entry point into either the discography of Woods or Sky Green Leopards. And between that whining guitar solo at the end and this very sweet atmosphere, there's nothing really to hate on this track. And Not So Bad is once again super hopeful, super charming. I'm surprised. Like, I knew that Jeremy and Glenn were going to have a lot of chemistry, but this is shockingly so. Once again, this is easily one of the more human records either one of these guys have been on, but if you told me that 2 months ago, I don't know if I would have been as eager jumping into this album. But it's so likable, and that last little guitar break is just so full of life. This is just a really ghoulish but inviting but passionate folk album. There's not a lot of material here that I can say that I hate, just a couple of ideas that I wish were really more thought out. Like Soft Wasp, it's not the worst thing here. It's another very hazy, very almost psychedelic instrumental. And I don't hate it entirely. As a matter of fact, some parts of it are pretty nice. But there are just much better thoughts here as far as instrumentals go. And believe it or not, I'm not that keen on the title track, Heaven and Holy. This one, to me, is really out of place. I mean, newsflash, Woods and Sky Green Leopards in their days have always had this retro twang to their songs. It always just seemed to come to them so easily, like they didn't try and force it. But this just sounds like they're trying way too hard to be that. And Fool is my least favorite track here. And this is a track that has a problem that I expected to have more of here. And this just sounds like a very average Woods B-side or a Sky Green Leopards B-side. Like, this sounds directly ripped out of City Sun Eater and the Valley of Light. It also just doesn't have the carefree and warm nature that so much of this album has. And Pacem in Terrace has a Finale? I don't know, man. It's not really fitting. It's kind of awkward. As far as instrumentals go here, which for the most part are a knockout, this is a weird one though, like genuinely the most experimental track here. It doesn't sound like a finale to me. As a matter of fact, it just really leaves me hanging as a finale and just makes me question so much of this. And in another respect, if you know Jeremy Earl's music and Glenn Donaldson's music, you'll know that this is so, like, entry-level odd. It's not even good experimental music. Outside that, though, this is nothing short of just well-performed, feel-good, kinda spooky, but totally inviting folk rock record. The BZC is also really good. It kind of comes off like a lot of the other very decent instrumental jams here. But I love just how melodic the guitars come off. I love the jammy qualities to this. It's something I didn't exactly expect, but it certainly makes me feel good. And Coast, as well as Moon Will Rise late in the album, really offer up some left hooks. Coast, for one, is very spiritual sounding. Really sounds like the nocturnal side of the rest of this album. But it's super hypnotic. I love some of the hypnotic grooves we get here. And Moon Will Rise is completely something different. This is much bluesier and incredibly tragic sounding. And just so lonely. I was not expecting this album to bring us here. But it honestly opens up a whole new direction of their Painted Shrines catalog, and I really hope that we hear more from this project in the future. So yeah, this is nothing short of a really well-written, well-performed psychedelic folk and folk rock record. Jeremy and Glenn here have nothing but chemistry. I'm not too shocked about that, but the jams here are great. More jammy qualities, I should say. Not only that, but we see the Woods and Sky Green Leopards frontmen offering up some of their most human songs to date. You know, it's just something really, feel good, which I needed right now. It's not perfect, but it's certainly really, really enjoyable. I'm feeling a very light 8 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.